it's Jo Swan here, the educational gardener from Bulwell Forest Garden, and we are in early May, and as you can see the weather's a little bit wet at the moment, though it is quite warm, so it's a really, it's really good weather for growing. Everything's going like crazy, so lots to do, so let's get cracking, let's get growing. Here we are, nice and dry in the polyps funnel. So we're going to start with your pack. So because it is quite warm, I've decided to give you some dwarf French beans. These are variety called Ferrari, and I think that's because they grow quite quickly. So what we're going to do with these is you should have about 6 seeds, small white seeds. And what I'm aiming to do with these is to grow them and then transplant them into a big pot together like we did with the broad beans. So hopefully I'm going to end up with 3 plants out of 6, because something may decide to eat them. So what I'm going to plant them in is toilet roll tubes. So I've put 6 tubes in a pot, and then I've filled them up with compost like this, and then I'm just going to dib a hole in each one about 1 inch deep. And then I'm going to put 1 seed into each tube. That's it. And then I'll cover them up with a little bit of compost, press them down, and then I've got a label somewhere. There it is. And then I'll just water those for the fine rows. Then I'll probably lift them up. I'm going to keep these in the polytunnel, so you could kind of put a makeshift lid over them until they germinate to keep them warm. But slugs will probably be your main worries, so you may want to put them somewhere off the ground. So that's the dwarf French beans. So the other thing I've decided to do, because it was such a success last year, is to try and grow some carrots in a pot again, because I did really well last year, and it's the first time I'd ever tried that. So we've got a variety here called Chanterelle Red Cord 2. So they're like a kind of quite stumpy variety, and I'm going to get a biggish pot, and in here I've put some homemade compost and a bit of leaf mould, which is quite rough, but I think the carrots won't mind that once they get going. So the pot's about 2/3 full, and then I'm going to fill it up with some good peat-free compost. And that'll stop any weeds germinating before the carrots do, hopefully. So put my compost in. Let's get the seeds. So with seed sowing, as ever, took a few seeds, and we won't need too many because it's not like we're growing a big raised bed of them. So I put the seeds into my left hand, and then I use my finger and thumb on my right hand because I'm right-handed, and then I'm just going to try and spread them out as much as possible. And this is to me, and they save me some work, so I don't have to thin them out too much at a later date. Not wasted seeds then. Okay. So I've scattered my seeds, and then I'm just going to colour them up very finely because they're quite small seeds. So the rule of thumb with seeds is the bigger the seed, it wants to be about 2 or 3 times its own depth. So a broad bean would obviously be deeper than a French bean. I did those about 1 inch deep, but these ones, I don't want to cover them with too much, otherwise they might rot just before they get a chance to germinate. So just put a bit of compost on top, press it down. If my label in and then give them the water with it. Well, you could just put that aside as long as it's not too heavy rain, and let the rain do the work for you. And then finally, you should have 3 calendula plants. So calendulas, these are hot marigold. And the reason that we're growing this is they are really pretty plants and they're very colourful with their nice bright orange flowers. But the other reason is that they're really, really good as a companion plant for your vegetables. So I think it's the scent of them helps to keep away some of the pests that might bother some of your vegetable plants. So the idea is that we're going to grow these interspersed with our vegetables. So the first thing I'm going to do with them is check their root system, and these do need to be potted on. So what I'm going to do for the time being, because I haven't fully decided where I'm going to put these, I'm going to put them into slightly bigger pots. I'm going to pop them on. So I put a bit of compost in the bottom of my pot. I'm going to take my plants, put it in the middle, and then put the compost around it, gently press it down. I'm going to do that with all 3 of them, and the root systems can get well developed before I decide to pump them out or pop them up with some other plants. So they just need watering with a fine rose, and then that's it for your packs this week. Oh, we just need to look at some of our other plants actually. So lots of things are germinating, but they're really slow actually. The tomatoes this year seem to be incredibly slow. So these haven't got their true leaves yet, so we're not ready to prick those out. And the same with the basil. My rocket's doing okay, but I'm not going to mess with this because we were just going to grow these in a pot because rocket doesn't like being transplanted. And I think these were the chili peppers, which again are very slow. The sunflowers we potted up last time. And they're kind of ready to go out really, I think. So I might have to think about putting them into some bigger pots. The lettuce that we potted on, it's doing okay. A little bit slow. And the radish has germinated. We're going to try and grow some radish in a pot, but something's been having a little nibble in these, but I think this should be okay. Can you see any culprits under there? No. And then I noticed that my chive plant, so it looks like it's filled its pot. So one thing you can do with your pots is just look underneath. And with this one you can easily see its roots are poking through. So took it out, and it's getting a little bit pot bound in here, so I'm going to tease out some of these root system and put it in a bigger pot so that it will keep developing. So I've got a bigger pot, put some compost in the bottom, a plant in the middle, and then my compost around it, and then I will put that outside in the rain, like that. Another thing you could do to help encourage it to start growing is to harvest it. So I'm going to cut these off, make them go in a salad, and that will help them to regrow. So I think that's it for the packs. Okay, so at the moment we've got a bit of a mantra on the garden for as a reminder of what we need to do at this time of year. So it's weed, water, feed. So we're weeding because the weeds are growing like crazy. Obviously weed is a subjective term, but in the vegetable beds we want to keep most of the plants other than the ones we've sown there are weeds because we don't want them there. So weeds just an unwanted plant. So when we say weed, obviously it's up to you what you classify as weeds. A lot of them are very good wildlife plants as well. So we're weeding, we're watering. We don't need to water that much today. But the reason why we water before we feed is because we don't want to burn the root systems of our plants. So if we water the plants first and then we feed them, that's going to be a lot better for the plant to uptake the feed that we're giving them, the nutrition that we're giving them to help them grow. So, weed, water, feed. Water, when it comes to watering, I've got a watering can here, so that's what I will water with. And then I've got a watering can that's about half full here. Obviously they're not going to need as much of this as they are of the water. And then here I've got homemade feed, which is this lovely dark brown earthy looking material. And this is a mixture of comfrey brew and worm tea, which has run out the bottom of our wormeries. So it is really nutritious. It's not quite as smelly as comfrey brew on its own. So I'm going to use this, and if you don't want to make your own, you can buy plant feeds, you know, they're commonly available. So I've got my water in here already, and I'm going to dilute this because I don't want to burn the roots of my plants. It's not a very strong brew this, so I can put that much in. Okay. So I'm feeding them now. I've got a rose on the end, a bit of good water. These are all my pot plants with plants from previous packs, and I really like to have a feed after all this warm wet weather. The potatoes have all come up, and the peas are doing nice, and the beans. That's everything looks great. So giving a bit of nutrition to help them grow, and it's really important this when the weather's wet, when things are in containers, because when you get heavy rain it washes the nutrition out of the compost, so it is really important to give them a feed. I don't usually bother feeding young seedlings because we should have the nutrition you need if you're using a decent heat-free compost. Okay, and I think that's it for today. So yeah, get your waterproofs on. It's going to be wet for a couple of weeks, but warm. So get topped up and get out in the garden. Thanks for watching. Keep growing.